Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Man, oh man, just when I thought I was out, these Mets pull me back in. The Mets, after what was just looking like a funeral march on Friday night, come back on Saturday and get the pitching performance of a lifetime from Clay Holmes. 1 hit through 6 innings, something the Mets have desperately needed from any starting pitcher in their rotation over the last several months. Pete Alonso comes through with an RBI double in the first, a home run in the third. Jeff McNeil adds an insurance RBI single later in the game before the Mets scored 2 more in the top of the 9th. And it is a nice, neat, and tidy 5-0, but 1 hit shutout victory for the New York Mets as they keep their postseason hopes alive, at least for another day. We will go into game 162, the season finale on Sunday, with the Mets still breathing and a chance to clinch this final wild card spot. I am blown away by the performance from Clay Holmes here today. You know, we didn't know how we were going to organize this rotation. He had just pitched an inning of relief on Wednesday out in Chicago, and obviously he has had his shortcomings here in the second half. But my goodness, what a job by him. Pete coming off a really tough game yesterday. Started with the RBI double in the first inning of Friday night's game, but obviously bobbling that ball, had 2 strikeouts in that game as well, all after that, but came out today, has the clutch RBI double to set the tone in the first inning, and then adding that home run in the third to give the Mets a little bit of breathing room while Clay Holmes was finding his footing in this game, and the Mets get the 5-0 victory. And it is back to scoreboard watching as the moment right now, we sit here today at this moment right now, I should say, the Mets maintain a half game lead over the Cincinnati Reds for the final wild card spot. And we will see if we enter tomorrow tied, where the Mets would need to win and have a Cincy loss, or if the Brewers can do the Mets a favor here and win tonight. All the Mets would need is a win tomorrow or another Cincy loss. What is up, you guys? I am Tony Metro. Welcome to the stream. You guys know the deal. Daily Mets content, post-game recap after every Mets game. The Mets actually had a pretty easy win there. I think I forgot how to speak. I might have had a stroke during that because this just doesn't happen, at least not for the last couple of months with this team. Be sure to leave this video a like. Go ahead and do that right now. Appreciate y'all doing that. You could also follow me on all the other platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Links to all of those are in the description down below. My goodness, this is like 2007 all over again. 2008 all over again. John Maine with the 1-hitter on the Saturday in the penultimate game of the season before the finale on Sunday against the Marlins to keep the Mets postseason dreams alive. Let's go to the chat. Armand Clay Holmes found his inner John Maine. There it is. Armand knows what I'm talking about. John Maine, of course, back in 07, tossing a 1-hitter against the Marlins, keeping the Mets postseason dreams, that is, alive. And that is exactly what we got here tonight from Clay Holmes. What a job by him. Just took the mound and had total command of it. The only real blemishes was a base hit and then a couple of walks in this one as he handed the ball off to the bullpen from there, and they were money good. Brooks Raley doing what Brooks Raley does. It went to Tyler Rogers in the 8th, and then the Mets not messing around despite adding 2 more insurance runs and making it 5-0 there in the 9th inning. They go to Edwin Diaz, who, after hitting a batter with 2 outs, is able to get the easy comebacker and roll it over to first for the final out of this game. But yes, the John Maine game for Clay Holmes here today with the 1-hitter. So I'll be walking down 86th Street listening to Staying Alive. That's right, baby. I am a big Bee Gees guy. I don't care. I'm only 31. That was well before my time, but I am listening to Staying Alive the rest of this evening as the Mets do themselves a huge, huge favor. I mean, you basically had the hope that Cincy would lose the next 2 and the Mets would win tomorrow if the Mets did not win this game here today, and that's just so unrealistic. But the Mets Mets get the job done here today, and a huge credit to Pete Alonso. Eye black today. I got to be honest, I don't think I've ever seen Pete Alonso wearing eye black before, but maybe you keep rolling with that there, Pete. Let's see, Absol Clay Holmes has just pitched the game of his career. No doubt, it's the best start that Clay Holmes has had as a New York Met. No doubt about it. It's not even close. He was really solid in the first half, as we know. I think we all can agree that him converting from a reliever has affected him in the second half, and obviously was not as good. But today was clearly far and away his best start. And I loved that they noted this on the broadcast, switching the sides of the rubber in between each pitch in the middle of at-bats. I mean, I don't know if that is something that the pitching staff, Jeremy Hefner and the pitching lab decided he should start doing, or if he took it upon himself. But giving the Marlins some different looks here today, really, really impressive job from Clay Holmes, and just a huge win for this team. So Brewers have something to play for. Home field advantage. That is correct. That game is just about underway. Unfortunately, Minnesota is beating the Phillies 2-0, so Milwaukee could also clinch with a Phillies loss for home field advantage today. So hopefully the Brewers don't treat it that way. I believe they're throwing a bullpen game against the Reds, which we all know as baseball fans can go one of two ways. Either it completely blows up for the Brewers, or the Reds are just kept off balance because they're continuously getting different looks, seeing different relievers out of the Brewers bullpen. It is really hard to say how bullpen games will go, but let's keep our fingers crossed that the Milwaukee bullpen will be really, really strong here today against Cincinnati. Explosive diarrhea, Lindor and Pete posing for a photo after that Pete homer tells you everything you need to know what's wrong with this team. I'm not sure what you're insinuating, Explosive. You're going to have to elaborate more. I don't know. Mark Rapp cracking one open for the Brewers. That's right. We should all have a Miller Lite in hand, if you are of age, of course, tonight. And toast to the Milwaukee Brewers. If the Brewers beat the Reds today, all the Mets have to do is win tomorrow. That is all they have to do. And I already have all the Mets memes tuned up in my head that I will create and post for you guys if that is the situation that we find ourselves in tomorrow. What is up, guys? Appreciate y'all tuning in. Leave this video a like. Really, really appreciate it. Big, big win for the Mets today. Clay Holmes goes out and just absolutely dominates the Marlins. The big day from Pete. Jeff McNeil chipping in as well, and then the Mets able to cash in 2 more runs for some insurance there in the 9th. The bullpen was nearly flawless. 7th, 8th, and 9th from Rayleigh, Rogers, and Edwin Diaz. It is a really, really positive day here, obviously, and, we live to fight another day. I wasn't sure that was going to be the case coming off of last night's loss, the way they looked in the field. The question now becomes, as we have said unbelievable amount of times here in 2025, can the Mets carry the momentum into the next game? And that is something that unfortunately they have failed to do more times than not this season. But can they carry the positive momentum? Can they carry the good juju into the next game? And what is probably in all likelihood going to be a must-win game tomorrow. But for today, we got to be happy about it. Jimmy James, I guess we have to root for Philly, so Milwaukee has something to play for with the home field advantage 100%. We have to root for the Phillies. Like I said, they're trailing Minnesota 2-0 in the bottom of the 4th inning right now. That one is out in Minnesota, so we definitely want the Phillies to win today so that if the Brewers have any wandering eyes at the scoreboard during their game, which is about to get underway, they see that the Phillies did not lose and that they still have to win their game against the Reds to clinch that home field advantage throughout the National League playoffs. Explosive. If the Reds lose one game and we win tomorrow, Mets are in. Here's how it works. I'll break it down really quick. Let's say the Reds lose today. All the Mets have to do is win tomorrow. If the Reds win today, the Mets have to win tomorrow and the Reds have to lose tomorrow. So essentially, the Reds cannot sweep this series or the Mets are done. If the Reds lose at least one game of these next 2 and the Mets win tomorrow, the Mets are in. All we had to do entering this 3-game set with the Marlins was match whatever the Reds did this weekend with the Brewers. The Reds obviously won yesterday. We complete loss. Today we won, so if we go 2-3 and the Reds go 2-3 over this weekend, the Mets are in. If the Reds do one game better than the Mets do this weekend, the Reds will take the final wild card spot. So that's the quick breakdown. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. Sandman, hi, Tony and Mookie. We still alive. Staying alive, baby. Staying alive. Ha, ha, ha. For now, we will see. There is a lot of work to be done. We still got tomorrow. We still need a little bit of help from Milwaukee, but we put ourselves in a better position for the moment, at least, compared to where we were about 12 hours ago. So that is definitely the good news. Good to see you, Sandman. Edward Christian Aquan Holmes may ran out of juice lately, but he showed that he's a dog this game. Great game today. Let's hope the stars line for us to punch our ticket to Wednesday. Our Mets going to start McLean tomorrow. No, McLean will not start tomorrow. He just started on Thursday, so that would only be 3 days rest. I have no idea what the plan is for the Mets tomorrow. Obviously, we know they called up Dylan Ross today. He touches triple digits. I don't know what the deal is with him. I understand he does have some control issues, and having that kid go out on the mound in a must-win game to save your playoff hopes really seems like a big ask, but I don't know what else the Mets are going to do. I think it is one of those all hands on deck kind of things. I think we will see David Peterson pitch. I think we will see some of the higher level relievers like Rogers and Rayleigh and all the guys we saw here today pitch earlier than maybe expected. So just understand, and at least if you're Carlos Mendoza, my message to him and to the players is be ready to play. Be ready to come in and play at any drop of the hat, because you cannot treat tomorrow as if the third or fourth inning may not be the biggest moment of the game. If it is first and second, nobody out in that second inning, you're going to Brooks Rayleigh. You're going to Tyler Rogers. You are going to one of your elite level arms. That just has to be the way that you treat tomorrow's game. So we will see what the plan is, but McLean definitely will not be starting. Possibility he could come in and pitch an inning of relief. I wouldn't be surprised to see if the Mets did do that with him. That would obviously, though, make it difficult for him to start in a hypothetical first game of the wild card series, but I am not getting too far ahead of myself. I believe in juju and I am superstitious, so let's take tomorrow, see what happens, win that game, and you put yourself in a really good spot. Again, all depends on what happens with Cincinnati and Milwaukee, which, by the way, in a minute here, I'm going to put up on my screen on the Game Day MLB tab so we can watch here together for a little bit. Sandman, birthday gift. All I ask for is a Mets wildcard tomorrow cake. Yes, let's do it for Sandman. Happy birthday, Sandman. Everyone sound off in the chat. Wish Sandman Games a happy birthday. Hey, I hope you get that gift, man. They gave me a rotten egg last Sunday for my birthday, so hopefully they'll make up for it for you tomorrow, Sandman. That would be wonderful. Now, guys, let's not forget, the Mets are still in a precarious situation here. They could win today, tomorrow as well, and still not make the playoffs. If the Reds somehow sweep Milwaukee this weekend, the Mets are out. They did not win yesterday's game, and unfortunately, it is still a possibility that even if the Mets win tomorrow, they will not be in the playoffs. I'm not trying to put any bad energy in the air. I'm just painting the full picture for you. So we absolutely need some help from the Brewers tonight and possibly tomorrow. So we will see what happens. Dante Geraldino, Senga tomorrow? No, definitely not. Senga is not touching a big league mound again this year. Even if the Mets make the playoffs, something is really off about him, and the Mets front office and coaching staff has been extremely close to the vest trying to tell us anything about the situation with Senga, but they have not been impressed or liked what he has done in his 2 starts down with Syracuse. So no, I do not anticipate Senga coming up and pitching for the team tomorrow, and I do not actually anticipate seeing him pitch again if the Mets are fortunate enough to make it to the postseason. So I don't think that is going to be the case. Joe, Holmes, the only starter with 10 plus wins. That is a pretty crazy stat. This is, I believe, just the second shutout in the second half. And by second half, I mean in the second 81 games of the season for the Mets. Just the second. They got one against the Phillies during that 3-game sweep at Citi Field, but other than that, this is only this is only the other one. We've talked about the quality starts. The Mets have the least in baseball, so it has been a struggle for this starting rotation 100%. But wow, when you needed Clay Holmes to go out and just dominate, today was the day, and he did it. I mean, just took the ball and I mean, almost no fearful innings. I think in that fourth or possibly fifth inning, I think it was the fourth inning where he walked the 8 and 9 batters with 2 outs back to back. That was obviously getting very concerning, especially because it was only, I believe, 2-0 still at that time. The Mets bats weren't doing a whole lot against Perez, who had 11 strikeouts through 5 1/3 in this game. But wow, what a freaking job by Clay Holmes to keep the Mets alive. Like we said, this is the John Maine game for Clay Holmes. I mean, the similarities to 2007 are actually uncanny. Facing the Marlins after getting wiped out on the Friday game, second game of the season, of the series, the penultimate game of the season, and you get a 1-hit shutout of the Marlins to keep your season alive going into the season finale on Sunday. So, wow, the stars are aligning in a weird way. I don't know if it's going to be in a good way or a bad way. I've had this really bad gut feeling for a long time with them, but maybe, just maybe, they are going to pull it off. Let's see. Explosive diarrhea. Need to bring Grimace tomorrow. All hands on deck. You need to have every person that is a Mets fan in Miami wearing a Grimace costume tomorrow. I don't care. Put it on. Put it on. You don't want to wear it? Then get out. You're wearing a Grimace costume if you're going to the Marlins-Mets game tomorrow down in Miami. 100%. Sandman games. All hands, even Lovelady. LOL. Wow. I don't know if I want to talk about a guy named Dickie Lovelady and his hands. That's concerning, honestly. That sounds like a lawsuit right there. But, I mean, I hope we don't have to see Richard Lovelady tomorrow. I pray that won't even be necessary. I pray the Mets bats can come out and just put a big crooked number up on the board early against Edward Cabrera, and that we won't have to rely on those types of arms. But we know Cabrera's a good pitcher. We just, got to do what we can against him. Hopefully get him early, but hopefully it doesn't come down to have to be using a guy like Dickie Lovelady. But we shall see. Guys, go ahead, leave this video a like if you have not already. Really appreciate y'all being here. It's a big win for the Mets. It is a big, big win, and now we scoreboard watch. Pretty soon here, I'm going to start sharing my screen for the remainder of this video as we take a look at the Cincinnati and the Milwaukee game. But let me finish up a little bit here with the chat. Let's see. Sandman games, Jared Young. Oh, my goodness. So Brett Beatty, of course, going on the injured list, as we know, with the oblique strain or whatever they're calling it, side soreness, discomfort. We probably will not see Brett Beatty again unless the Mets reach the NLDS this year. Unfortunately, we know how bad sides are in baseball, especially a hitter trying to swing the bat. Basically ended Jesse Winker's season before he injured his back, which I have to believe are pretty related. But point is, we have Jared Young on the roster right now, and I am praying that we will not have to see Jared Young up tomorrow. That probably is not a good thing unless the Mets are winning 12-0 and they pulled out Juan Soto just to give him a little bit of a rest. Let's see. Explosive diarrhea. Everyone wishing a happy birthday to Sandman. Very nice. You guys are great. Let's see. Edward Christian Alkwan, if we on whatsoever, I'm sorry, Edward, I got to reread this. If we on whatsoever reason get in, what's our starting pitching rotation look like? All right, so your question is, what is the rotation going to look like if the Mets make the playoffs? And is Vientos going to start at third base? Don't believe the Brewers are going to get swept, so Mets could capitalize and win it. Let's see what happens. Okay, so first of all, the rotation. I mean, I am starting it off with Nolan McLean should the Mets make the playoffs. I think everybody is in lockstep on that, right? I probably have to go with Clay Holmes now for game 2 based on the way he just pitched here today. And he has quietly been a little bit better than he was for most of the second half recently. So I think you got to make Clay Holmes a game 2 starter. And then for game 3, honestly, I'm probably starting with Brandon Sproat, or I'm having Sproat come in of relief on a short-leashed David Peterson. And I think you just patchwork your way through that game 3. But I think, in my opinion, you got to go Nolan McLean again. I think that's easy money there for a game 1 starter in a potential playoff series. And then for game 2, I think you got to give it to Clay Holmes, especially after the way that he just pitched here today. Again, let's not get ahead of ourselves. As far as third base, we saw Ronnie Mauricio was starting today with Beatty being placed on the injured list. Yeah, I know Beatty. I know Mauricio, I'm sorry, had a base hit in this game. I know he is obviously much better defensively, had a pretty nice pick there, but I don't know if you can continue to start Ronnie Mauricio. The bat is just not there. I know he had the hit today. I know he, ripped a couple foul balls here tonight, but I think you got to go back to Mark Vientos. He is the proven commodity as a playoff bat, and I get it. You would have liked to seen a lot more from Mark Vientos recently than what we have gotten from him, but I'm going back to Mark Vientos again. Should the Mets make the playoffs? Knocking on wood here, and I probably just made Mookie really upset, and he's going to think someone's knocking at the door. Let's see. Military Mike, would it be the Mets if they didn't push it to the last day? This is what I told my girlfriend, who, this is her first season watching the Mets here with me. I said, trust me, they will long draw this out no matter how more difficult and torturous it is, whether it ends in positivity or in negativity. The Mets love to make things interesting. It is just in this franchise's DNA. You look at the 69 Mets coming from last place in the final 2 months of the season. You look at 86 dominated the whole year, and it took a miracle ball going under Buckner's leg. 2015, all the charades that happened then, and even last year's playoff run with all the friends along the way, Grimace and Seymour Wiener and Glizzy, the hot dog eating dog, and the rally pimp, and everything else you could possibly think of. Hoctua throwing out a first pitch. The Mets always have a flair for the dramatic, good, bad, or indifferent. So hopefully this is one of those ones that ends in a good year. We will find out by this time tomorrow. John Ortiz, happy birthday to Sandman. Oh, look at that. Everybody getting in on it. Mark Rapp, Gary and Ron, we're really calling Mendoza out for not having anyone warming up in case Holmes faltered, and I agree with them. Yeah, I do agree. I think that you pretty much have to have a guy at the ready every single inning, because if they run into trouble as early as the second inning, you got to get somebody else in there. You cannot let one of these big, ugly innings like we just saw yesterday in the fifth destroy your season. And too many times, Carlos Mendoza has let those kinds of innings happen because he did not have somebody ready in their bullpen to replace them. So I totally agree with that, Mark, and with what Gary and Ron were saying on the broadcast. Reds just had first and second with with 2 outs, and they ended up striking out to end that inning. So they are scoreless going to the bottom of the first now, with the Brewers coming to the plate. So let me share my screen here with you. As you can see, the box score here, a very pretty 0 runs and just 1 hit for the Marlins today. Compliments, of course, of Holmes, Rayleigh Rogers, and Edwin Diaz. But let's go over to the Reds and Brewers game, and we will just keep our eye on this while we continue the stream as I read your guys' chats. Guys, leave this video a like. Appreciate everybody being here. It's a good day for the Mets. John Ortiz, I'm telling you, when Mullins doesn't play, there's a higher chance of them winning. I think they flashed a stat across the board. Something like the Mets have a significantly higher winning percentage when Tyrone Taylor is playing. And, I mean, Taylor already does more today than anything that Mullins has done in his entire time as a New York Met. Laid down a sacrifice bunt, very nearly beat it out. Just you're so much more comfortable with him in center field. Taylor also with a base hit in this game. So I am so happy that Taylor is back. Clearly, obviously, is going to be starting again tomorrow, and then come playoff time, hopefully, if they make it, hopefully that he will be fully ready to go and can play multiple consecutive games. That hamstring is fully healed by that time. Let's see. Sandman, Tony and Mookie wearing Mets jerseys. No Mets jersey for Mookie. I should get him one. He's got a little dog collar tag with a Mets logo on it, so he's pimped out. Jose Lopez, don't fault Mauricio. He's been a bench warmer for the Mets, and nobody produces sitting on the bench. Send him to winter ball. He will definitely go to winter ball, and I'm not blaming Ronnie Mauricio. In fact, I put the blame on Stearns and on Mendoza. Mostly on Stearns, though, for keeping Ronnie Mauricio in the big leagues, because he saved one of his options, in my opinion. That is a very small market move by David Stearns there, and I think it's crushed Ronnie Mauricio's development. And even despite that, at least still had a base hit and laced a couple of foul balls today right on the screws. But yeah, it's not Mauricio's fault that he's just been glued to the pine pretty much the entire second half of the season. So Don't blame Ronnie. I don't, but I'm just saying you probably got to go back to Mark Vientos at this point. Don't know what the plan is for tomorrow. If they're going to continue to go with the defense first approach and put Ronnie back at third base again, maybe DH Vientos, but I don't know. I am just very, very, very confused about it all. Armand says, Carlos Mendoza says the Mets will announce tomorrow's starter at some point tonight. I just tagged you, Tony, to the video clip. Thank you, Armand. I will check that out. We could also listen to some sound from the guys after this game if you want. So we could do that in between watching the Brewers and Reds. Brewers already with a man on first base and nobody out for Bryce Terang. That's what you're seeing right here on your screen right now. Edward Christian Aquin, did you also notice that I heard that Tong plays better if Terens catches for him? Yeah, so Tong pitched that game against San Diego with Terens behind the plate. Obviously, that was his best start in the big league so far. His other 3 starts, I believe, have all been with Francisco Alvarez behind the plate, including that one against the Rangers and then the previous one this past week against Chicago. So, yeah, I have heard that before, and if that is the case, then, yeah, you need to have Terens behind the plate. It could also just be a total coincidence and happenstance, but I do believe the catchers call the pitches for these pitchers on this team, so I would not tempt fate, but that is if we even see Jonah Tong pitch again. I don't think he is any guarantee to pitch should the Mets be lucky enough to make the postseason. Jackson Churio lined out to third base. Of course, it was a line out. Yep. That's just how the Mets' luck has been going lately. But let's take a listen to what some of the guys had to say. There's our buddy Frank the Tank. It's, again, a big win for the Mets here today, guys. Sound off. How you feeling? Are the Mets going to make it? They're on the doorstep. Like I said, they still have to take care of business tomorrow and or get some help from the Brewers. So we will just see what happens. But let's listen to Clay Holmes and hear what he had to say about his just tremendous start today that gives the Mets a real puncher's chance to still make it to the postseason.
Satisfaction in the biggest game of the year to date to come up with your best start of the season like that.
Definitely felt good. It's a game we had to win today, and we just went out there and kind of gave him all. But I think once we finish the job and get here in the playoffs, it'll be a little bit more satisfying.
Hey, what's the level of satisfaction?
Yep. Well, no doubt. Holmes is a pretty even keel guy. I don't think I've ever actually seen the dude smile. I've never seen him pissy either. He is just like low heart rate kind of guy, and that is the kind of dude you want on the mound in these types of games. And that is why I answered the question before. I forgot who mentioned it in the chat, how I'd set up the playoff rotation if the Mets do make it there. I gotta have him starting game 2 after Nolan McLean. I mean, this dude has been in huge playoff games, a bunch of ALCS and ALDSs with the Yankees as a closer, so I am definitely having Clay Holmes taking the mound for this team if the Mets do make the playoffs. We will see what happens. D says, save us, Brewers. Well, we don't quite need them to save us at the moment. We will see. It would definitely be helpful for them to lose at least tonight. And if they do that, the Mets can simply win tomorrow and they are in. But let's see. The easier the path, the better, especially for this team based on all the torture that they have put us through. So we got a runner on first with 1 out here for the Brewers with Andrew Vaughn at the plate. So he's got a 3-1 count. So that is obviously something we like to see. Let's hope. I think this is good. Yeah, you guys should be able to see everything now on my screen, the count and everything. Yep, perfect. All right. Let me go back to the chat. Explosive diarrhea. Hopefully the Jays win tomorrow and win the AL East. Normally, yes, I am a Yankee hater. Normally, yes, I am keeping tabs on the American League East and hoping that the Yankees falter. But I got to just mind my own house and get my own house in order at this point as a Mets fan, man. I cannot give my undivided attention away from this Mets team. The Mets need to take care of business, but if they do end up clinching, yes, I'm 100% with you. Hopefully the Blue Jays win. And Andrew Vaughn lines out to right fielder Noelvi Marte. So back-to-back lineouts to end the first inning for the Brewers because that is just how it's going to go, it sounds like today. Oh, boy. Great. Still plenty of time left, obviously. Only the second inning. Jose Lopez, to think that us Mets fans have to put up with Stingy Stearns and his jackass moves in 26, we'll suffer a lot. All right, let's relax. Let's see what happens. The offseason hasn't even began. I might be singing a different tune tomorrow. I think we can all agree that it was a brutal offseason and brutal deadline for David Stearns. There have been a lot of injuries to this team, but there's also been a lot of underperformance and people that didn't meet expectations. and a lot of it does fall on David Stearns. But we have no idea what the offseason will bring, who's going to be coming up through this farm system next year, who the Mets might trade for, who the Mets might sign, who we might trade away. So let's all just tone down on the Stearns is a war criminal rhetoric, at least for the time being, right? All right, let's go back. Let's hear what else Clay Holmes had to say about his performance here today and just about the team overall and the situation that they find themselves in.
Yeah, I mean, it's a winner. It's a must-win game. I think at any point, whether it's World Series or second to last game of the regular season, those games mean a lot, and you can definitely feel that. And yeah, I think just kind of going into the game, to be honest, it took me back to a little bit last year, losing a World Series and how bad I want to be a part of that, especially with this group here. And I think just these games, like you said, these must-win games kind of bring out some of that, and I was happy to go out and just leave it all out there tonight.
Definitely. And I just checked my Discord, and we do have a caller in here. Guys, if you do want to be a part of the show, you can do that. Just go to the Discord. That is the link to that is down in the description of this video. It'll put you in the call-in waiting room. And we have a guy that has called in before, and he is always tremendous on the line. We haven't done this in a couple of weeks, so I hope that we're not going to have any issues here. But Eddie, you're on the line, my man. Can you hear us? And if so, what's going on? How you feeling about the Mets right now? Nope. Wait a second. Here we go. Possibly. Eddie going once. Eddie going twice. We're working on it. Possibly. Let's see, Eddie. Are you muted? Are you still there? We got you on the line. We're ready to take your call. Nothing for now. All right, we're going to come back to that. But Eddie has made some great calls in the past before. As again, we go to the second inning. It is a leadoff base hit for Elly De La Cruz to start the top of the second there for the Cincinnati Reds. How are you guys feeling? Sound off in the chat. Let me know in the comment section here. Do you think the Mets are going to make the playoffs this season? It comes down to tomorrow. Hopefully the Mets' path can get a whole lot easier with a win from the Brewers here tonight. All the Mets would need to do is get a win themselves tomorrow, and they are in. But we will just see what happens, guys. Eddie, let's try that again. Do we have you here? Can you hear us, Eddie?
Can you hear me or not?
We got you, my man. Let's go. My man, Pots and
All
Pans.
right, so it took me a half hour to figure this out. I'm at work right now.
All right.
I work. Hey, listen. Couple things real quick here. How nice was it to have Tyrone out in center field today? Did you have a little bit of peace in your heart?
Oh my gosh.
Out there? Is that I had a really good vibe that he was out there. I know he's not a big swinger, but boy, I knew that he was not going to cause any trouble, and he's going to help out Nimmo / Soto to cover up there. That really felt good to me. How you feel about that?
Oh, 100%. I mean, anytime you have Tyrone Taylor out there, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable. I'm holding my breath every time a ball is hit into center field when you have Cedric Mullins patrolling center field. So 100%.
And McNeil as well, okay?
Yep.
Now, what else happened here? Carlos, he kept it boring today. Mm-hmm. The bullpen, he kept it nice and boring for us. Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Yeah, he kept it nice and boring. He brought in 2 low volatility pitchers that throw and get contact, keep the ball down in the stadium. Perfectly played today by Mendoza. It didn't go to the algorithm, get all crazy about lefty versus righty. He just did what he had to do. That was nice today. That felt good.
Absolutely. And I think we lucked out there, and I'll let you keep going. I think we lucked out with how much of a stinker that Gregory Soto threw up yesterday, and the fact that he went 1 1/3 innings pitch. He obviously was unavailable, so we didn't have to worry about him, but I can't imagine we'll see him in any situation tomorrow either. But go ahead. Continue, Eddie.
I got one more thing to think about now. Ready?
Sure.
Here we go. 2022. The Mets and the Braves both won 100 games, and the damn Phillies backed their way into the playoffs with 86, 87 wins on the last wild card, and they rolled right all the way to the World Series. And I was so pissed off because I didn't feel they deserved it. We won 100 games. Perhaps this year we can return the favor. We're backing our way into the playoffs. We're backing our way into the playoffs. Let's run the table when we get there. Let's get our head. Let's get some unity here. Get our head together, and keep our eyes. Hey, play ball. Just play ball. Focus.
That's it.
Play baseball, guys. Let it go.
That is it.
All right, that's all I got for you today. I'm not going to rant today. We got the win.
Eddie, I appreciate it. Call back in tomorrow. You're the best. He's one of our best callers here on the Discord. Again, guys, if you want to join the show as well and call in like Eddie just did, link to my Discord is in the description down below of this video. That's it, man. You just got to get in and play good baseball from here on out. I know it's hard to believe with how the Mets have played recently, but that's what the Phillies did. That's what the Diamondbacks did in 2023, although they obviously came short against the Rangers in that same World Series, who they themselves really struggled in September before turning it on in the playoffs. We've seen this Mets team do it before. It's just been few and far between, unfortunately, for the last several months. So would I have a lot of confidence? No. But have I seen it happen before with other teams? Absolutely. And Eddie also referenced the Phillies right there in 2022 when they marched to the playoffs despite being a sub 90 win team. Meanwhile, the Mets and Braves beating each other up all year long to get to 101 wins. And it's the wild card winning Phillies that end up going to the World Series, which, by the way, let me just throw in there that they blew and choked to the Houston Astros. So if there are any Philly fans watching, which I know there have been a lot on our streams lately whenever the Mets are losing, let me just throw that out there for them. All right, the Reds are threatening here in the second. They got second and third with one out and McClain at the plate. So we got to hope here, guys. Like I said, this is a bullpen game for the Brewers. Gasser is on the mound. He's a lefty. I don't know what the Brewers' plan is, if he's going to kind of be treated more as an opener and only throw the first couple of innings, or if they're going to try to get the bulk out of him, is a new term that I just heard this year, the bulk guy. But let's hope that they can keep the Reds off the board here in a good scoring opportunity for Cincinnati. So let me go back to the chat over here. Kev Chada, Brewers starting the rookie starting pitcher in his second game, not looking good tonight. Yeah, obviously this is a little concerning right now. Armand says, breaking news per Will Salmon. And Will Salmon, friend of the show, came on and did a podcast here with me. I'd love to have him on again if the Mets do make the playoffs, but definitely will reach back out to him in the offseason regardless. He says Sean Manaea is starting for the Mets tomorrow. Wow. Okay, so the breaking news here, Sean Manaea is getting the ball tomorrow. He is starting the game. He started last Sunday against the Nationals before giving way to Clay Holmes for that piggyback. We know that Manaea also just pitched in relief on Wednesday after Clay Holmes in Chicago. That did not go so well. He gave up a 2-run homer, but I guess the Mets are just going to go with what they have to believe are their most trusted arms. Even though we haven't seen a lot of evidence of it lately, we know what Sean Manaea did in the second half and in the playoffs last year. So hopefully good Manaea is going to be around tomorrow. Thank you, Armand, for bringing that to my attention. Again, Sean Manaea will be getting the start for the Mets tomorrow. And like I said, I still think it's all hands on deck. I think that you're going to probably have oh my goodness, look at this. The Brewers just threw Elly De La Cruz out at home for the second out of the inning. That is great news. That is really great news right there. So it is still first and second for the Reds, but they do not put a run up on the board as the Brewers are able to throw out De La Cruz at the plate. It is first and second, 2 outs now for Friedel. So hopefully just one more big out here from Gasser to get out of this little jam that the Brewers were in. So that would be really nice to see. Kev Chada, Jose Lopez, I don't feel too good about the Mets because of Captain Hook. Mendoza still managed them. Hey, you need Captain Hook right now because you cannot afford to let any of these games get out of hand early. So if you want the itchy finger, this is what you're going to get now from Carlos Mendoza. They have got to keep these games in check. You cannot allow one pitcher having a bad inning to blow up the rest of the season here. So hopefully we're going to get that. Jimmy James says, I don't see the Brewers giving us much help. And Military Mike, Phillies are losing 3-0 to the Twins. So as we know, if the Phillies lose today, the Brewers have nothing to play for. They will have clinched home field advantage throughout the National League playoffs. So we would love to see a Phillies comeback here. It is now in the 6th inning against the Twins. They, again, are trailing 3-0. Hopefully the Brewers are going to be able to get out of this jam here right now. 2 strikes on Friedel, 2 outs with first and second. This would be kind of a backbreaker momentum swing kind of moment for the Reds, having a runner thrown out at home plate. So hopefully Gasser has got a good pitch left in him right here. I'm keeping my eye on it. But real quick, let me go back. Kev Chada loved that I didn't see Mullins in. There it is. The Brewers get out of the inning. It looks like it is a ground out to the second baseman. TJ Friedel grounds out to first baseman Andrew Vaughn, and the Brewers escape the second and third 1-out jam from Cincinnati. And this game is scoreless going to the bottom of the second. Give it up for the left-handed rookie Gasser for Milwaukee. You love to see it. But yes, we would definitely like to never have to see Cedric Mullins again, Kev Chada, as you were just saying. And I don't think we will be seeing him tomorrow unless it is in a odd pinch running situation where the Mets need a little bit of speed on the base pass. Game for WAR. Oof, Manaea Mendy throwing our way. Our chance. I mean, who would be the next best guy? You want to put the rookie Ross, who is not exactly a super highly touted prospect, out on the mound for his MLB debut? I don't think that's the right choice. Kodai Senga is lost in the sauce, as I have said before. And, I mean, other than that, there's really nobody. Jonah Tong would actually be in line for the start, I believe. He pitched Wednesday, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, he'd be a day short, actually, of rest. So Tong would not be in line. His normal day would have been Monday. But I just don't think there's a better option than going with Sean Manaea at this point. And I think it's going to be a game all hands on deck where you just are going to go to a bunch of different guys. You're going to go maybe to David Peterson for some innings of relief. You're going to call upon the big guns in the bullpen early, such as Tyler Rogers, such as Brooks Raley, even though they just pitched today, and Edwin Diaz. I know a lot of people said, I don't know if we should have used Diaz in a 5-0 lead. What if we need him tomorrow? I don't care. I'm pushing Edwin Diaz for 6 outs tomorrow if the Mets need it. I am pushing for it. You go down swinging with your big guns. So I would not be surprised to see Edwin Diaz available for 4+ outs tomorrow if the situation dictates it. So we will see as we get there. Again, it would be a huge help to have the Brewers win this game here tonight. And even if the Phillies do lose, the Brewers are not, I don't think, going to just lay off the pedal here. I just can't imagine them doing that, but who knows? Who knows? Military Mike got out of it. Yes, nice job by Gasser. Abso, hopefully Manaea goes deep. We will see, man. We will see. It's obviously not been great for Manaea. We've seen a few glimpses lately. He didn't pitch so well on that Sunday against the Nationals, though. Before that, was definitely pitching a little better. And then the relief appearance against Chicago on Wednesday did obviously not go so well either. So we will see what happens with Manaea and if he can just tap into that second half 2024 version of himself and playoff version of himself that was so fantastic for this team last year. That's all we can hope for. And obviously also a Brewers win or two. That would also be really, really nice. Game for WAR. Put the Reds into pitch. Oh my God. Stop it. Stop it. Erdem. What do we have to make it? What do we have to do to make it to the playoffs? All right, real quick. I'll break it down again. The Mets need to match whatever the Reds do this weekend. If the Reds lose today, all the Mets have to do is win tomorrow. If the Reds lose today, if the Reds win today, the Mets will need to win tomorrow, and Cincinnati will also need to lose. Essentially what I'm saying is, if the Reds go 2-3 versus the Brewers this weekend, the Mets need to go 2-3 versus the Marlins this weekend, and the Mets are in. Anything worse than what the Brewers do over these 3 games here in this weekend, and the Mets are out of the playoffs. So that's, I think, the easiest, simplest way I can say it. I don't know, maybe it'll be confusing to you coming out of my mouth, but it makes sense to me, at least up in my dome. Jose Lopez, it doesn't matter who starts for the Mets. They need to score between 6 to 10 runs to win. They need to put up runs, and it was nice to see them get 5 here today. There were a few opportunities that they left out there on the base pass in this one, so a little disappointing and frustrating in the middle innings of this game, but hopefully the Mets can string together some really quality at-bats. Maybe hit the ball out of the yard a couple times. That would be sweet, right? But we definitely cannot have one of those games where it is a lingering lead, where we are up 2-0 into the 4th, and the bats are now getting shut down. The pitcher's getting into a groove like Friday versus Alcantara, and even to a degree today against Yuri Perez. So hopefully the Mets bats can come out swinging and stay hot tomorrow. The Brewers are not doing us a lot of favors on offense against Andrew Abbott, one of the tougher lefties in the league, although the Mets have certainly had their way with him in his 2 starts against them this year. But First two men in the Brewers order is to put down here in the bottom of the second, so nobody on board for Bryce Perkins now. We will just keep our eye on that. Let's see, Kevchad, check airports to see if Senga makes an appearance tomorrow. I don't think we are going to see Senga tomorrow. I think it would have been smart to potentially have him at least rostered, but not the case. Wow. That was about the quickest 1-2-3 inning I have seen in a long time, or that I have watched on the MLB Gamecast. The Brewers go 1-2-3 up and down in the bottom of the second inning. So it is still a 0-0 ball game out in Milwaukee. Again, we really, really would love to get a Brewers win here today. That would mean all the Mets need to do is win tomorrow, and they will clinch the final wild card spot. Jing Freakus says, Brewers win the next two, calling it Ginge. I hope you're right. I really, really do. That would bring my blood pressure down about 50 or 60 points, and I could desperately use that after watching the 2025 Mets from wire to wire. Kev Chada, I'd start Stanek, then Manaea. Manaea did well as a backup. I don't know how I feel about that. I do like Stanek lately, but I've never seen him as an opener, so I don't know how I'd feel about that. And Manaea did not pitch well in relief last time out. I know we did after the Clay Holmes start a couple of weeks ago against San Diego, but I don't know. I don't know if today is the day to try starting something that we haven't really done before as far as Stanek as an opener, but Stanek has been pretty solid lately. Don't be surprised to see him pitch tomorrow. We have not seen him in this series yet for the Mets and the Marlins, or at least not to my memory. I believe he pitched against the Cubs on Thursday his last time out, but Stanek has definitely been a little better lately. Helsley has been better lately. My goodness, could you imagine? Helsley has had 5 consecutive scoreless appearances, including 2 innings against the Cubs on Wednesday in that blowout. Could you imagine if they bring him in tomorrow in a big spot, and that's where he returns to the version of Stanek when we first acquired him? My goodness. I don't even know why I'm putting this into the energy. I'm sorry, guys. Guys, leave this video a like if you have not already. Really appreciate you all being here. Let's see, game for war. If you were the Brewers, who would you rather face in the playoffs, Reds or Mets? You know, it's a good question. I think that either way, the Mets or the Reds would have to get past the wild card and past the NLDS to even potentially meet the Brewers in the National League Championship Series. The way that the brackets are laid out, the Mets or the Reds will play the Dodgers in the wild card round, and after that, the winner will play the Phillies in the NLDS. So they probably don't even have it on their mind as far as, hey, what's better for us, the Reds or potentially playing the Mets, because that is so far down the line. But honestly, sometimes you let a team in on your own watch and it can come back to bite you. And I'm going to go football terms here. I remember in 2009, the Indianapolis Colts laying down, putting in backup Curtis Painter for Peyton Manning, and that allowed the Jets to get into the wild card on the final week of the season. The Jets did end up playing the Colts in the AFC Championship that year. Unfortunately, the Jets did what my Jets always do and lose to the Colts, but they gave them a little bit of a scare in that game, at least in the first half. So sometimes you don't always want to let that team in under your watch. I've seen it come back to haunt teams before, but I don't really think that is how the Brewers are operating. I think they're doing what is best for their team as far as setting up their rotation, their pitching staff, making sure that their lineup is getting rest, but not getting too rusty with this week layoff they have before the NLDS next weekend. So I wouldn't look too much into any of it, but it is a lot of interesting things to kind of think about. Gasser back out for his third inning of work here in the top of the third with Novelli Marte at the plate. 2-2 count on him and a batter timeout. Okay, great. Kev Chada, simply put, Mets need to win one more game than the Reds. The Reds own the tiebreaker. Exactly. We have to win one more game than the Reds do this weekend, or match. I mean, now for this, or match from this weekend. I see what you're saying. Yeah, from this point now, yes, the Mets need to win at least one more game than the Reds of these last 2 games. The Mets have won 1 here today. If the Reds lose tomorrow and today, the Mets still have to win tomorrow, I believe. No? I don't know. Now I'm all confused. Let's see. Kev Chada, Stanek open for Tampa Bay. That was years ago, man. I don't know. And another leadoff base runner on a throwing error by pitcher Robert Gasser. Okay, that's just great. Thank you so much. A throwing error from the pitcher. reaches base for the Reds to lead off the inning. Wonderful, wonderful. Erdam, why did the Reds hold the tiebreaker? The Reds hold the tiebreaker because they won the season series against the Mets. They had 6 games this year. The Reds won 4 out of 6. So that is how you determine the tiebreakers for the playoffs, your head-to-head matchups. If the Mets had tied with them 3-3 this year, like they did with the Diamondbacks, it then goes down to your in-division record, meaning how did the Mets play against the NL East and how did the Reds play against the Central, or in the case of the D-backs, how they played against the NL West. Unfortunately, the Mets did not have a better record in the East than the Diamondbacks did out in the NL West, so the Diamondbacks also own a tiebreaker over the Mets. It is second and third now as Miguel Andujar doubles after the error from Gasser. That is just great. Second and third, nobody out for Steer, who has been red hot hitting cleanup here for Cincinnati. Great job, Gasser. Thank you so much for having a freaking throwing error to set the table here for Cincinnati. Not a great sign right now. Game for war, what if we both win? Tiebreaker. So if the Mets win tomorrow, the Reds need... All right, so if the Reds win tonight, the Mets need to win tomorrow and need the Reds to lose for the Mets to get in. If the Reds win today and tomorrow, there's nothing the Mets can do. The Reds win the wild card. If the Reds lose tonight, all the Mets have to do is win tomorrow. I hope that clears everything up. I don't know. I'm getting confused myself now. This is not looking great right here. Second and third with nobody out, and Spencer Steer at the plate for Cincinnati. I am shaking in my boots a little bit here, guys. Kevchada, when's the last moment that we will announce the tomorrow's starting pitcher? When is the last moment? What do you mean? I'd keep that announcement as much as possible so I leave the Marlins as little time as possible to prepare. Yeah, I agree. You definitely don't want to tip at your hand at all, but the Mets have made the announcement. It will be Sean Manaea. These guys have seen all of these pitchers now. We play in the same division. So I don't think it would really do the Mets a whole ton of favors anyway. But I totally understand that. Really, you don't need to ever announce who your starting pitcher is going to be, in my opinion. But that's just kind of how it goes. D-Rails now the Brewers have forgot how to play. Yeah, I know, right? An error, and now it's second and third. D-Rails just ridiculous, of course. When we need the Brewers, meanwhile against us, they're just lighting it up, Gold Glove play after Gold Glove play, throwing guys out at the plate to end the game. Remember that one? Sandman games back in my day was the NL East played the West winner. I'm an old fart. No, you're not. But happy birthday, Sandman. But yes, used to be the NL East versus the NL West. That was your NLCS. Winner of that went to the World Series. What a different world. What a different world it is nowadays, huh? Stanley Babbage, Tony is Mendoza's job on the line. I don't think it is, but I do think that if the Mets don't end up pulling through and making it tomorrow, that he will be very heavily audited, and it's possible. It is possible. They will do an evaluation, I think, and they will have to get some good answers from him of exactly what didn't go right, all the problems. Strike 3 swinging, Spencer Steer. That is a big first out. Guys, we're going to watch through the end of this inning, and then I'm going to wrap things up. But no, Stanley, I don't think Mendy's job is on the line. I think he has not had a lot to work with. I know we want to say, look at the payroll, but to be honest, man, look at who we are putting out there right now. We got Ronnie Mauricio playing third base, a guy that's been parked on the bench for the last 2+ months. You obviously have had your struggles in the rotation with a lot of injuries and just underperformance, and you can't put that all on Mendy, but there definitely have been some problems. All right, well, Cincinnati is on the board, you guys. I don't know how it happened. We're going to find out right here, but it is Stewart, the first baseman for the Reds. He looks like he got a base hit. Let's see. No, maybe. Still waiting. Sal Stewart singles on a line drive to center fielder Blake Perkins. Novelli Marte scores. Miguel Andujar to third. All right, so it is 1-0 Reds, guys. Ellie De La Cruz is at the plate. Still first and third with only one out. We desperately could use a double play, unfortunately, about as tough a guy to double up as possible with De La Cruz, the batter. So, unfortunately, the Brewers did give up a run here in the third inning. So we will continue to monitor this. Hopefully, they can keep this a small number here with Cincinnati, because so far the Brewers lineup has not shown a whole lot against Abbott. All right, this is good news. In play, outs. Hopefully it's not a sacrifice fly. Let's find out. It looks like it's a fly ball into... Oh, flies out sharply to left fielder Collins. Okay, and no advance from the runner Andujar at third. Okay, that is very good news. So 2 outs and Gasser with a chance to minimize the damage and keep it just a 1-run inning here for Cincinnati. So again, guys, we're going to continue through the end of this inning here, and then I'm going to wrap things up. D-Rails, June 13th, Mets, look it up. Lies. That is the line of demarcation, as we all know. Richard Zucker, it's not that the Reds were better, it's that the Mets were worse. I think it's a mix of both, honestly. I mean, the Reds are not a bad team. I don't know that they are much, much better than the Mets, but I can't definitively say that the Mets are better when they've played this way for the last 4 months, and all the mental mistakes and physical errors and, lethargy we've seen from them either in the lineup or the rotation, the bullpen at times has been such an issue. So I can't sit here and say the Mets are definitively better and they just blew it. I think it's a mix of both, but I hear you, Richard, 100%. Let's see. Sandman, tomorrow going to be fun. I got Dart's debut at 1, then the Mets at 3. There you go, Sandman. Good luck on that. And again, a happy birthday to the Sandman himself. Richard Zucker, he should have got politically involved. I don't even know what we're talking about at this point. Kev Chada, good managers do more with less than us. I mean, yeah, I'll give you that. And I think that this Mets team would be in a better position with Terry Francona managing them. I'm not going to lie about that. But Terry Francona is also a 2-time World Series champion manager. So, I'm not saying Mendy's the best. I'm also not saying he's the worst, but there's only so much in his control. But yes, I do understand you squeeze the most out of the group that you have. That is a manager's job. And I think that he did it to perfection in 2024. But unfortunately, this year, the odds may have been stacked up a little too high against him to repeat that here. So 2-2 here on Tyler Stevenson, the Reds catcher here. He's actually pinch hitting, it looks like, because I don't believe he recorded an at bat there, and he didn't draw a walk in the first inning. So it looks like Stevenson is actually pinch hitting here, but I could be wrong about that. But big 2-2 pitch here, guys. Really, really need the Brewers to get out of this inning and keep it a 1-run game. Oh, just off the inside corner. And the count runs full with Cabrian Hayes on deck for Cincinnati. Let's see, Erdam, what's the playoff rotation looking like? We will see when we get there, but I think if the Mets do make it, you go McLean, you go Holmes game 2 after the way he just pitched here today in essentially what is a playoff game, and then for game 3, I think you're probably doing a mix of Sproat and Peterson, Manaea maybe in there, and it's a kind of all hands on deck situation like tomorrow is going to be for the Mets. Stanley Babbage, hopefully the Mets can extend Alonso and Diaz. We will see. That is obviously an off-season discussion to have here, but wow, that ball 4 is just barely off the plate. Gasser can't get Stevenson despite starting ahead 1-2, and it is now bases loaded for Cabrian Hayes in the 3rd inning with the Reds already leading 1-0. Oh boy, there's a mound visit. I don't know if they are making a pitching change here. I would guess that is what the Brewers are doing here, but my goodness, we really need them to get out of this one and keep it 1-0 right now. Let's see, Richard Zucker, I don't think the Brewers want to face the Mets again. Man, they took care of us pretty handily up in Milwaukee last time, so honestly, I don't think the Brewers are afraid of anybody, but I understand. All right, so it is a pitching change, and they are going to Jacob Mizorowski, the guy that was a phenom for like a month, and everyone wanted to call him the next Paul Skeens. He kind of fizzled out, but hopefully he pitches the way he did his first month up in the big leagues, because the Mets really, really need him right now. Dom, does Tom have a chance of pitching this season? No, I don't think Tong is going to pitch in the postseason. I don't. I just think the stage is too big for him already here in the regular season. I think it would be a massive, what is the word I'm looking for? A disservice to put him in that situation. It already has been a disservice for the Mets to put Jonah Tong into the big league rotation here when he's clearly not ready. It was a desperation move because of the shortcomings of all the veterans and all the injuries in this pitching staff. So I don't think Tong is going to, number one, be considered one of their best 13 pitchers at this point, and number two, I don't believe that it would be good for his future or his development to put him in another spot like that. But Kev Chada, I heard Bochy is leaving the Rangers and not retiring. We need to go after him. Wow, that's really odd. I would think that Bochy was hanging them up. He not finally, but he got his 4th World Series, 3 with the Giants back in the 2010s, as you guys can probably remember. And then, of course, winning it with the Rangers in 2023. I cannot believe he is still going to continue to manage after a hiatus between his time with the Giants and the Rangers. That would be an interesting one. That might be one that I actually say, Mendy, it's been nice, but Bruce Bochy is waiting, and I'm going to go dance with him. I'll be honest. That is something I'd be interested in for sure. Kev Chada, where are you watching the game, Tony? I just have it on MLB.com, this little game cast here. Once I finish here with you guys, we're taking Mookie out for a walk, and then we're going to throw the actual game on. I can't put the actual video on here or else I'll get copyright striked. And I mean, I already do, but it will literally shut down my stream if I put on the live feed of Major League Baseball's game. So this is just the MLB game cast on Major League Baseball's website that we are watching right here. Jacob Mizorowski starts Brian Hayes off with a strike, 0-1. Kev Chada, seeing game on Channel 5. Yes, and it's on Fox. I forgot. So yeah, this game is on Fox. So if you just have a basic cable package or whatever your streaming service is, if you have Fox on it, which most of those Roku and, Fire Stick have your local Fox, you should be able to get this game right now. All right, 102.6 miles per hour in on the hands of Brian Hayes. Jacob Mizorowski has come in and is throwing gas as he tries to get the Brewers out of this bases loaded jam. The Reds already had a run thrown out at the plate in the 2nd inning. They were able to cash in here, and the Reds are going to score. The Reds are scoring. 0-2. Base hit. Soft base hit is what they're calling it. On a ground ball to the pitcher. I can't believe this. I cannot believe this. I'm not even watching it, but just reading what just happened. Brian Hayes singles on soft ground ball to pitcher Jacob Mizorowski. Miguel Andujar scores. On an 0-2 pitch, it sounds like they just got a swinging bunt, and the Reds now have a 2-0 lead. This is ridiculous. This is just ridiculous. The fucking 4-leaf clover up this team's ass is just unbelievable. I cannot fucking believe this. Fucking believable. It's only 2-0, but wow. This could have been a backbreaker kind of an inning if the Reds didn't cash in more than one. And 0-2 pitch, and it sounds like, at least by the description here, that it was a swinging bunt, and the Reds score another run. Base is still loaded, 2-1 here for Matt McLean now. Let's see what happens here. My goodness, man. The Mets really need the Brewers to win today, man. They really do. That sucks. I will have nothing but very bad voodoo to put toward the Brewers if they end up getting swept in this series by the Reds. Big time. That's a strike. Gets called a ball. Thank you, home plate umpire. And it's now 3-1, and Mizorowski is in danger of walking in a run. Here we go. Brewers are doing the Mets absolutely no favors so far. They had 3 hits yesterday, and there's ball 4. The Reds just had a bases loaded walk, and it is now 3-0. It is a 3-run 3rd inning for the Reds, you guys. The Brewers are just completely screwing us. They are pitching like shit, and this is not looking good. So we'll finish out this inning. Hopefully it stays at 3. Swinging bunt with 2 strikes and 2 outs to bring home a run with the bases loaded, and now a bases loaded walk from Jacob Mizorowski. And it's back to the top of the order for Cincinnati, and he starts it off with ball 1. Great. Kev Chad, imagine if we had traded Verlander or Max to the Rangers for Leiter instead of Acuna. That would have been nice. I don't think they were going to give up Leiter. He was at the time a stud, but I remember Bochy as a backup catcher, Joe says. Would be a huge upgrade. You always know catchers make great managers. 2-0 from Mizorowski, in danger of walking in another run here to the Reds and making it 4-0. This is not good at all. Let's see what happens. TJ Friedl, he's dangerous. Called strike. All right, let's see if Mizorowski can finally put this friggin' inning to bed. Unbelievable. This is not good. I know I'm on delay, Kev. This is as fast as it's going to go with the MLB, what's it called? Gamecast. But I appreciate you letting me know. Sorry, I didn't mean to sound rude there. Richard Zucker, Mets screwed themselves. They did. They did. No doubt about it. They did. But, the Brewers are also the best team in baseball with 96 wins, and they're laying down for the Reds, just like the Cubs laid down for the Reds and got swept in a 4-game series before the Mets played them. And then meanwhile, the Cubs came out and played like it was their freaking World Series against us this past week. But yeah, it's, the Mets have no one to blame but themselves. Don't get it twisted. The Mets have no one to blame but themselves. But man, it'd be nice to get, a little break here. Every now and then, here we go. And it's 3-2 again, and Mizorowski is again in danger of walking in another run. Back-to-back walks to force and runs, potentially here. A swinging bunt single to make it 2-0, and then a bases-loaded walk, and now it is a 3-2 count on Friedel. Foul ball, of course. Oh, boy. Ginge, it's fine. Just need to stop the bleeding here. Plenty of game left. There is, man, but... or miss or whoever. There is Ginge, but I haven't liked what I've seen out of the Brewers at-bats so far other than the first inning where they laced a couple line drives that just were right at guys. Here we go. Big payoff pitch, 3-2. Really freaking need it here, man. Really freaking need it from you here, Mizorowski. I can't believe how bad. Runs. Okay. Well, guys, the Reds are going to win today. It is a huge inning for the Reds. I don't know what they're doing, but let's see. In play, more runs. 2 are coming home to score and make it 3 on a ball that goes, wow, unbelievable. The Brewers have completely choked it for us. It is a 6-run third inning. 5 of those runs coming in with 2 outs off of Jacob Mizorowski, inheriting it from Gasser. Thank you so much for absolutely nothing, Milwaukee, as they throw the ball away on the relay to third base, and another run comes home to score. It is 6-0. Thank you so much to the Brewers, you scumbags. I have nothing but disdain for you, and I just pray on your downfall in the playoffs this year, which we know will happen because it always does, because you're the Milwaukee Brewers, and F you. I think that about sums it up. This is a joke. The Brewers can suck my you-know-what. I don't know why this won't update. It's clearly they just scored 3 runs. There it is, 6-0. On a single. Ground ball to left fielder, Isaac Collins. Throwing error by left fielder, Isaac Collins. And it's 6-0. What a effing joke. Screw the Brewers. Just can't make it up, man. Team forgets how to play effing baseball. We need a little bit of help from them, from the Cubs. Cubs get swept in 4 games against Cincinnati. Brewers about to get just paved. Oh, God. This sucks. They want to stick it to Stearns, Kev Chada says. Well, I don't see a comeback in the Brewers' future, and it looks like the Mets are going to need help tomorrow on top of a win. So, thanks so much, Milwaukee. I will have my Milwaukee Brewers voodoo doll out in the playoffs if they don't end up winning tomorrow. And even if they do win tomorrow, putting us through the ringer here. It's just always just torture being a Mets fan. Both by our own doing, and then, of course, in situations like this. A 6-run third inning. 5 of these freaking runs came in after 2 outs. A swinging bunt single. A walk to force in a run. And then a fucking 2-out, 2-run error, whatever you want to call it. What a joke. Sucks. Michael Estrada, so if the Reds win, the Mets are out? No, not true. If the Reds win tonight, the Mets need to win tomorrow, and the Reds need to lose tomorrow. So it's not over if the Reds win tonight, but it would be much easier if the Reds had lost tonight, which it does not look like will be the case. And that ball looks like it fucking hit him in the head. I don't know if he dodged out of the way. It looks like he must have. Yeah. What a joke. Kev Chada, fat lady has sung. Not quite yet, but if the Brewers lay down tomorrow, which looks like they are right now, and have these first 2 games, then, and if the Reds sweep tomorrow, then, my goodness, it's over. Derails, great speech, Tony. Thank you. I don't even know which part where I was just going off on the Brewers. JD, he's filthy. Locks Reds down tomorrow. I don't know, man. As far as Joe, maybe. Or Peralta. Maybe. If they even let him go past 4, though. And they're using their whole bullpen here today. They just went to Mizorowski here. And they're getting guys work in for work to, set them up for their playoff rotation. But that is just unbelievable. 5 runs with 2 outs for the Reds. Thanks to, it all got set up by a throwing error from Gasser to lead off the inning. And then you had the swinging bunt single. And then you had the throwing error out in left field on the single to add another run. It is really not good. It is a really, really bad sign right now with the Brewers just completely throwing up on themselves because they have 96 wins and they have nothing to worry about. Philly is down 5-0 in Minnesota, so the Brewers are going to clinch home field advantage, and the Brewers have nothing to play for. So it's not good. It is not good at all. Richard Zucker makes it easy for me to cancel my Sirius XM for the next 5 months. Let's see. Garang Dang, Brewers getting swept. Oh my God. If that happens, man, I'm telling you, I will be the biggest anti-Brewer fan on the planet. If they end up getting swept this weekend by Cincinnati, I will have nothing but just awful, terrible omens for them and for the Cubs for allowing the Cincinnati Reds, their division rival, to step all over them. Meanwhile, did you hear what the Marlins fielder said yesterday? I can't even think of his name because he's such a scrub and we'll never hear from him 3 years' time from now. After he hit that home run yesterday, he goes, they're a division rival. We want to knock him out. We want to knock him out. We've been playing good baseball. Imagine if the Brewers or the fucking Cubs had that same intensity against the Reds these past 2 weeks. Nope. Everyone just wants to hurt and knock out the Mets. Joseph and Delicato, Brewers have nothing to play for. Exactly, man. Lenny and Alana Crew, how about those Yankees, huh? What about them? We're just still going to see them choke in the playoffs like they do every season. It's not over quite yet, Joseph. It's not. The Brewers come out and win tomorrow, the Mets win tomorrow, and the Mets are in. But obviously, it doesn't make it a whole lot easier with the with the Brewers just being complete fucking frauds here tonight. 6-run inning. Unbelievable. D-Rose jests me that have to win tomorrow, too. Let's see. Dinascu Ruddy Mets lost yesterday from 2-0 lead. Yeah, 2-0 lead is not good enough. I mean, for most teams, honestly, but especially for this Mets team. Mets didn't continue to add on runs in that game, and the pitching did what it's done a lot this year and just completely have that blow-up inning. So, let's see. Richard Zucker, the Marlins do this every time. Yeah, the Marlins love to do this to the Mets. And meanwhile, you got the Cubs and the Brewers with that Midwestern nice. Oh, it's okay. You guys want to get into the playoffs too? You're a division rival. That's okay. No problem. You guys want to share a charter plane to each other's games? Bunch of fucking pussies. Garang Dang, yo, I need to know why the league hates us and other fans too. Like, actually, what have we done? I said this yesterday. I don't get the negative Mets and Mets fan rhetoric. Don't get me wrong. There's some Mets fans that are total douchebags, but that's the same case with every fan base. I don't understand why everybody loves to see the Mets lose. It's, just an easy punchline for teams. LOL Mets, right? So everybody enjoys having a good laugh at the Mets' expense, but I don't get it. I don't understand why they do it, but June 13th, looking up, Richard, this is karma, lots of things. Yeah, I don't get it at all. Chiron says one more win against the bad team in the Mets would be in, but all the pathetic losses, nobody to blame but the Mets. Yeah, nobody to blame but the Mets, although I will not agree with you that the Marlins are a bad team because they're not. They have had one of the top 5 records in baseball since the second half. They have been light years better than the Mets in the second half, so I'm not going to agree to that part, but there have been a million instances where the Mets choked this season away and blew it. With the National Series against even Baltimore, if you want to throw them out there, look what they are in the standings, losing 2 out of 3 to them. The Mets had a chance to bury the Reds for good in Cincinnati 2 weekends ago, and they lost that series, losing 3 out of 4 to the Marlins back in August. So there are a million ways to Sunday to dissect how the Mets are the reason why they are in this situation. And that is the ultimate truth, yes. But it is just kind of comical and honestly really strange how many other people around the league and fans want to enjoy the Mets fans and their team's tears and drink their tears. Like, I don't get where the hate comes from. I don't think many Mets fans come off as douchey, but like I said, every fan base has some of those. But again, it's an easy punchline. Everyone enjoys a good laugh at the Mets' expense for some reason. So nothing we're not used to. Yeah, Juan B, a lot of baseball do not like Steve Cohen. Yeah, so it's okay that the Dodgers can spend buku bucks. It's okay that they can defer money to Shohei Ohtani and every other person on that roster and basically have claim to the entire freaking country of Japan. But Steve Cohen, no, can't do that. No, Steve Cohen's not allowed to spend big bucks. That's the problem. Or the Yankees doing it all those years, right? Yeah, no, had we taken 2 out of 3 to the Nationals, we wouldn't be in this situation. We would have a 1-game lead right now, and then we would need to still win tomorrow, obviously. But yeah, there are a million different series that you could point to throughout this season. And there's your explanation for why the Mets are in the situation that they are in. Let's see. Who else? D-Rails. Yeah, they don't like Cohen. I don't get it. And don't get me wrong, there are bad Mets fans out there, but there are bad fans of every team. And for whatever reason, everyone just loves to say LOL Mets. But let's see. Chiron, because of our huge payroll and anger over the Soto deal. What is the anger over the Soto deal? The Yankees offered him about $10 million less. So why would you be angry that the Mets paid him meager little bit more money to come join the Mets? Yes, we have a huge payroll, but it's funny because everyone wants to say that the Mets are buying a championship or trying to, but let's look at it realistically. Pete Alonso was a homegrown guy that they re-signed. Brandon Nimmo was a homegrown guy that they re-signed. Francisco Lindor, the Mets had to trade prospects for and had to give him that contract to maintain him. Edwin Diaz was someone they had to trade prospects for and re-sign after he became a free agent. So outside of Juan Soto, tell me who the Mets have gone bonkers for trying to sign to buy a championship or the high payroll. I'll give you a much better example if you want one in that case, and it's the Philadelphia Phillies. Who on that team, on the Phillies, is homegrown? Zach Wheeler they signed away from us. Bryce Harper they signed away from the Nationals. Kyle Schwarber they signed. Nick Castellanos they signed. JT Realmuto they signed. Need I go on? So there you go. Anyone that wants to try to say the Mets are trying to buy a championship is just a hater and is blind, because you can turn a blind eye to what the Dodgers have done over the last several years and turn a blind eye to the Phillies trying to buy a team. But the Mets try to do it, aka re-sign their own homegrown players or players that they have had to trade assets for in the past and then became free agents, and all of a sudden it's a problem. So you could shove it up your ass if that's what you believe. And that's not directed at anybody. I'm just giving you the facts. Let's see. Richard, Tony, the problem is they didn't make any additions after Soto. Cohen wasted his money. Yeah, we know that they needed to do more this offseason. We know that. Brewers have a runner at third. It is 6-1, so that is nice to see the Brewers come back. I'd love to see them get a second run here, but it's still obviously a pretty steep hill to climb for Milwaukee. But yeah, we know that it was a bad offseason. You know, we know that the money is what brought Soto here, and that was Steve Cohen's checkbook. Same with Pete Alonso. We know that Stearns was probably ready to move on from him. But I do think that this farm system is developing and that they are going to bring up some pretty important pieces over this next year or two, both in the rotation, which we've seen a little bit of already, and in the field. And I do believe this is going to be a sustainable winning organization for years to come under Stearns' development. But this is obviously a big swing and a miss for him this offseason and this trade deadline, 100%. 7-10, Mets fans did it to themselves, running your mouth saying the Kings of New York, you're big bro. I mean, yeah, there's always going to be some dumb Mets fans that want to say stuff like that. There's also going to be some dumb Yankee fans that say that they have it terrible and their life's the worst, even though they make the playoffs and finish over 500 every single year. So let's, there's always going to be a fan of a team in your life that you come across that says outlandish shit like that. But the Mets players themselves, I don't think they've done anything in the media or on the field to give them a bad rep. And I would say the majority of Mets fans are self-loathing Mets fans. And yeah, of course, we're excited and we want our team to do well, but I don't think any of us are running victory laps or ever were even before the season. Yeah, it was nice to steal Juan Soto away from the Yankees, but not because we stole Juan Soto from the Yankees specifically, but because we got a tremendous baseball player. So Read into it however you'd like. But again, this is a Mets team that if you want to say that it's bought and that they have this crazy payroll, I'm sorry, that's just not the truth when you really actually examine how it all came to be. Let's see, D-Rose, they don't care about the facts. Tony, the Mets are not allowed to be good. Exactly. That is it. We are supposed to be the punching bag and the, punch joke of the league. So we're not supposed to be good. Exactly, D-Rose, 100%. When they lose their joke, and it's funny because it goes to the media too, as Jackson Churio strikes out swinging, of course. Thanks a lot, Churio. Christian Yelich, is that Yelich who got the base hit before? Let's see. Yelich grounded out. Okay. Kevchada says we should have signed good free agents after signing Soto last year, but they went to dollar store after. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that at all. Not at all. I think that they didn't want to block any of the upcoming prospects. And I think that this was a year where they kind of, all right, there's another run. There's another run. All right. Is that a homer? Is that what I just saw? No. All right, a double from Bryce Terang, and it's 6-2. All right, it's not over quite yet. Let me go back to the chat. I lost my train of thought anyway just now. Let's see, 7-10. LOL, Yankees offered him as much as they wanted to drive up the contract costs. And FU, which is exactly what they did. Brian Cashman Masterclass. Okay, well, good for you. Enjoy your team. We'll see you guys likely get bounced in the playoffs like you have each of the last 16, 17 years. And you can come revisit my channel then. So, let's see. Here we go again. 77. Promise a small group of fans like Frank make people want to see us collapse as people find his drama funny. Wish we didn't have that. Yeah. It's funny though, because, we have a really big and passionate franchise, and with that are going to come lunatics. So you got guys like Frank the Tank that, garner a lot of attention, and for better or worse, and usually for worse. But it comes with the territory for sure. And it comes with the territory of having a big payroll. And I'm not denying the fact the Mets have a big payroll. I just deny the fact that this is a bought team. Because like all the facts I laid out, with the Mets having to re-sign homegrown players that hit free agency, re-sign players that they traded major assets for when they hit free agency, i.e. Diaz, and then, of course, extending Lindor after they completed the trade for him. It's not like the Mets went out and did what the Phillies did with Harper, Castellanos, Realmuto, Wheeler, Schwarber, and on and on and on. So, all right, well, the Brewers end up with 2 there. It would have been nice to see them get another. They had a runner in scoring position, but I guess better than nothing. It's a 4-run game going into the 4th. Again, it's a bullpen game, and it's looking like the Brewers really, truly have nothing to play for, as it is top 9, a runner on first and no outs for the Phillies, who are trailing the Twins 5-0. That Phillies loss would guarantee the Brewers home field advantage throughout the National League playoffs. So we will see what happens here, everybody. But, I appreciate everybody being here, guys. Leave this stream a like if you have not already. Go ahead and do that here on your way out. Thank you so much. We went a lot longer than anticipated. I think like an hour and a half here now, but thank you all for the comments. Thank you all for leaving likes here. The Mets stay alive for another day. It looks like their path to getting that final wild card may be a little bit difficult tomorrow. They obviously are going to need to win, and they're also going to need the Reds to lose if they do hold on to this lead that they currently have over the Brewers. But I will be here for you guys with another post-game recap after tomorrow's Mets-Marlins game. We will see what happens. 24 hours from now, we will know the Mets' fate. But guys, thank you once again so much for tuning in. That's going to do it for right now. Until next time, though, I'm Tony Metro. Stay true to the orange and blue.